Okay. So migrating data from this non-SAP systems to SAP ERP, what do we call? Data migration.
Data migration.
Data migration. We have multiple data migration techniques in SAP ABAP. Okay. We have multiple data migration techniques are available. That is BDC. BDC means batch data communication. This is to use migrate all the non-SAP data to SAP ERP. Migrating in the sense, for example, if you go to for example, if you take company Amazon, they have their own SAP HR system, sorry, non-SAP HR system. So how many records you can find in that HR system, in the existing HR system? Is it in thousands or is it in lakhs? If you take Amazon example, their
Thousand.
thousands, maybe what are the strength of Amazon employees? That might be in lakhs in India,
Yes,
okay,
sir.
including delivery agents and everything in lakhs, right?
Yes, sir.
HR master data only it will be in lakhs. If you take their monthly salary records, their their annual increment records, their insurance details records, that will be into 12, right? If you, for example, if you take their salary records, each
Every
month,
month.
each month it will be going to create one new record in a transactional table. That will be in lakhs, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
So usually how we create records in SAP, we go to some transaction code, for example, MM01 or VA01. We go to that transaction code, open the transaction code, enter the details and click on save. Then it will create a transaction, right? For example, if you need to create a purchase order, sorry, sales order, what is the transaction code you have to use?
VA01 or
VA01. Yeah.
VA02.
To create a single sales order, you have to go to VA01 and you need to enter the details and click on save. It will take maybe 5 minutes to complete a sales order record, right? For one record. For example, in the existing in the existing non-SAP system, we have a sales order sales application. Okay, maybe last 5 years data is there in that sales application. How many records you can find in that? For example, if you take any company's example, you can find lakhs of records, right, for the last 5 years
Yes, sir.
in this
Sir.
non-SAP system. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
to copy all this data to SAP ERP, newly implemented SAP ERP, right? What you need to do? Can you do it manually? Can you create all the existing all the old records in SAP ERP manually one by one? Is it possible?
It impossible, sir.
If it is if it is 100, for example, if it is 100 records, you can create it
Is it
manually.
possible? Yes, sir.
But it is not possible to create lakhs of records manually in SAP ERP, right?
Yes, sir.
So for that reason, we use data migration techniques. One of such technique is BDC, batch data communication. Okay, so it is going to run. It is going to run applications automatically. Okay, What we need to do? We need to provide the records which we need to create in SAP ERP list of records for this BDC program. What this BDC program will do? It will automate the process. It will automate the process. It will repeat the same transaction for all these records. For example, we have 1 lakh sales order records. We have 1 lakh sales order records. What we will do? We will copy all these 1 lakh sales order records into a file. For example, into a Excel file. And what we'll do? We'll pass all those 1 lakh records to BDC program. What that BDC program will do? Will repeat sales order creation process for 1 lakh times. And it creates all the records in SAP. Okay? Clear?
Okay, sir.
So what the BDC program will do? Whatever the process we are doing manually, how we are opening the VA01 transaction, how we are entering the data, it will follow the same process, right? It will open the transaction and
Yes.
it will populate the data automatically. Whatever the records available, for example, there are 1 lakh records for sales order data. It repeats same process for 1 lakh times. Okay? And it creates the data in SAP ERP. What is the process? It follows the screen processing. Which process it follows? BDC?
Screen
Screen
processing.
processing. Whatever we are doing manually, it automates the same process. It repeats the same process for every record. Okay? It will open VA0 transaction and it will enter the data and it will click on save button. That's what we do manually. The BDC program will automate it. The BDC program will repeat the same steps for all the records. Okay? Clear?
Yes, sir. Sir, Excel file is compulsory, sir.
We can take Excel file or text file. Depends on the input. Okay. Sometimes we use
Okay, sir.
notepad files. Sometimes we use Excel files and sometimes we use CSV files as inputs for the program, BDC programs. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay,
So
sir.
using BDC, we can migrate bulk data or to SAP ERP. Okay. From non-SAP system. What is the prerequisite to run the BDC program? We need a file input. We need a file with records, the data which we need to create in ERP. Okay.
Okay, sir.
And first we need to upload the file into one internal table. Whatever the records in the file, first we need to upload into a internal table. You know, right? What is internal table?
Yes, sir.
Then loop that internal table. For example, there are 1 lakh sales order records in a file. First, we need to upload the file to the BDC program and populate that data to a internal table. That 1 lakh records into a internal table. Then what we need to do? We need to repeat or we need to loop that internal table. And inside that loop, what we need to do? We need to call BDC program. Okay? BDC program to create sales order records. So the loop will continue for 1 lakh times and the BDC program will create 1 lakh records in SAP ERP. Right? Clear?
Yes, sir.
In BDC program, we have multiple options like call transaction and session method. Okay, both will do the same job, but there are minor differences. Is everyone clear about data migration and batch BDC?
Yes, sir.
So it is used to migrate non-SAP data to SAP, right? So when you implement SAP ERP newly, when you purchase the SAP ERP product and implement in your system, can you find any data in it, in any table?
No, sir.
No, it is empty. You have to migrate
It is
all the
empty.
existing systems data into SAP ERP tables. Okay,
Yes, sir.
all the previous data. From today onwards, we can start using SAP ERP to create the VA01, VA02. We can use it because we are going to create record by record, right? From today onwards, whenever we need, right?
Yes, sir.
But to copy all the previous data, for example, last 5 years data, we need to use the data migration. One of the data migration technique is BDC. It uses
BDC.
screen processing. Okay, whatever the work we do manually, it will repeat the same process. Okay,
Yes, sir.
the other technique available for data migration is BAPI. BAPI means Business Application Programming Interface. BAPI is nothing but a function module. Okay, a special function module. You know, right? How to work with function modules, how to call a
Yes,
function
sir.
module, and how to pass importing and exporting parameters. You know, right?
Yes, sir.
BAPI is also a function module. You just need to call the BAPI and pass the importing and exporting parameters. That's it. BAPI will create each record in SAP ERP, right? So BAPI is the alternative for BDC. How? What is the difference, main difference between BDC and BAPI? It is very, very, very important interview question. So the difference between BDC and BAPI is what process BDC follows?
Screen processing.
Screen processing. It will simulate the screen processing. It will repeat the same steps. Whatever we are doing manually,
Yes, sir.
it will repeat the same steps for all the records. Okay. So what
Yes,
the
sir.
BAPI will do? BAPI is not going to follow the screen processing. It won't follow the screen process. It will directly update the database tables. It won't follow the screens. It won't open the VA01 transaction and it won't enter the data in the screens and it won't click on save. But what the BAPI will do? It will directly update the database tables. There is no screen processing involved here. So which one is faster, BDC or BAPI?
BAPI, sir.
BAPI is faster because it will directly update the database tables without open the screens, without navigating to the screens. Is it going to really directly updating the table without validating anything, whatever the data we provide? No. So there are all set of validations inside the BAPI function module. If all the validations are successful, if the data is valid, then only it is going to update the backend database tables and create the records. Okay. So to use BAPI, it is very similar to the BDC program. First, we need to take records, all the non-SAP system records into one file. That might be Excel file, Notepad file, or CSV file. We're going to take all the records, copy all the records into a file. Then we need to create a program and we need to upload that file to the internal table using that program. Okay. For example, there are 1 lakh sales order records. We're going to upload all those 1 lakh sales order records file into one internal table. Then we need to loop that internal table. Inside that loop, what we need to call?
BAPI.
BAPI function module. If you are
Yes, sir.
following BDC technique, we need to follow BDC steps, BDC programming
Yes.
logic inside the loop between loop and end loop. And
Yes, sir.
we need to pass record by record, first record, second record, third record, like that. Loop will continue, right? How many times that loop
Yes,
will
sir.
continue?
Depends on number
The
of
number of
records.
records in the internal table. So instead of BDC logic, we implement BAPI inside that loop and end loop. So the BAPI function module will call 1 lakh times and create the 1 lakh records in the SAP ERP. Okay. So if the BAPI is available for a particular transaction, for example, we have sales order data which we need to create in ERP, and your functional consultant asks you to create that program, data migration program. What is your first step? You need to ask for sample flat file. You need to ask for a sample file with a list of fields available in the file, right? So the file will be like this. If it is a Excel file, the file will be like this: sales order number, type, company code. What are the other details we'll be having? Customer number, customer number,
Created date,
yeah, created date,
sales document type,
yeah, sales document types, and there are lot of fields, and related to PO data, item number, quantity, unit of measurement, right?
yes, sir.
Price, price unit. What is the unit? Is it in dollar, Indian rupees? What is the currency? Price unit means currency. In which currency? Okay. For example, if it is if you enter 100, 100 means what? Is it Indian rupees or is it dollar? Is it euros? You need to define. Okay. For example, if it is dollar, you have to use USD. Like that. We'll be having different files here. Some sales order number, some sales document type, company code, customer number, created date, item number 10, quantity 20, unit of measurement kg, like that. Okay. Records will be repeated like this. Okay. Clear? So this is your upload file. This is your upload file with the data. You have to create a program to upload this file. Okay. Now, once you upload the file, inside the loop, you have to call BDC or BAPI programming logic. Okay. To upload, to create this data into SAP ERP. Before going to create or before going to call BDC or BAPI logic, what is the first step? You need to validate this data, whether the records provided in the flat file is valid records or not. If it is valid, then we are going to create data in SAP using BDC or BAPI. Clear? So what is the first requirement? Let's say your functional consultant asks you to create a sales order data migration program. What is your first step? You need to ask the sample flat file. What are the fields available in the flat file, right? And they will provide you This kind of flat file. Okay, these are the data we are going to use to create SAP sales orders, right? Then you need to build a program. You need to create a program, SE38 program. What is the first step in that program? You need to write logic to upload this file data into an internal table. You know, right, how to populate the internal table? What are the different
Yes, sir.
options to populate the internal table data?
Using data.
We can use select statement to populate records into an internal table, and we can also manually populate internal table records using work area. Populate the data to work area and append it to the internal table. What is the other alternative? We can use a file, a upload file to populate data into internal table. We can upload the file into SAP internal table, ABAP internal tables, right? For that, we have some function modules and methods to upload the flat files into internal tables. Then, what is the next step? So, what are the steps? Upload file to internal table. That might be a Excel file or Notepad file or CSV file, right? What is the step two?
Yes.
Validate the data. For
Validate the
example,
data.
to create a sales order, few fields are mandatory. You have to enter few fields mandatorily in VA01. For example, company code, customer number. These are mandatory. Without these details, you cannot create the sales order number. Price, quantity, these are mandatory, right, to create sales order. For example, sometimes my mistake, some values will be missing in the file, right? At that time, you should not update this record into SAP, and you have to return the error message to correct the flat file. So validate the data. What is the step 3? Loop the internal table and call BDC or BAPI.
Bubby.
So we have to call BDC programming or BAPI. Depends on the requirement between loop and end loop. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So this logic, BDC or BAPI logic, will create records in SAP ERP. Okay. This loop will continue for depends on the number of records available in the flat file. Okay. Clear?
Yes, sir. Sir,
So
in between the loop, we calling the non-SAP data, right, sir?
yes, records. Yes, whatever the records inside the internal table,
Okay, sir.
we are going to pass that record as input to BDC or BAPI function module.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So BAPI
Okay, sir.
contains it's a function module, right? BAPI is a function module, right? It contains
Yes, sir.
importing parameters. You have to populate the importing parameters and pass those importing parameters to the function module. If it is a BDC programming, you have to follow steps, screen simulation steps. Okay. In
Sir,
BDC,
one question.
okay.
You told that one, if manually mistake was happened, then upload is going on, sir.
Yeah, upload will be after upload only we are going to validate the data. For example, if any value is missing, in the validation step, we'll
Yes, sir.
identify. In validation, we do validation on the internal table records before going to call this BDC or BAPI. Okay, and then we'll skip that record. Next time,
Okay, sir.
We fix the record and rerun the program for the failed records. Clear?
Failed records will be collected, sir.
Yeah, yeah, we have to collect. Yes. Clear? Is everyone clear?
Yes, sir.
So this is how we migrate non-SAP system data into SAP. Okay, using BDC or BAPI techniques. So how can you identify? We have two options, right? BDC and BAPI.
Yes,
How
sir.
you can decide which method you have to use? How you know that? You need to use a BDC method or BAPI method. How you know that? So what is the preferable method? What is the best method to use
BAPI.
for data migration? BAPI. Because BAPI is faster and it will directly update the database tables without following the screen processing,
Yes, sir.
right? And there are some additional
Yes,
Yes,
advantages. Whenever there is upgrade, whenever there is a change in screens, for example, you change the standard screen, you enhance the standard screen with some custom fields. BDC programming is not going to support that. Whenever there is a change in the standard screen, for example, someone changed the VA01 screen with some additional functionalities, that is not going to be supported by BDC program. You have to change the program again according to those additional changes. Okay, but BAPIS won't affect that. It will automatically adopt those changes. Okay,
okay, sir.
so how we are going to
okay, sir.
choose? How we are going to choose? So BDC is a standard method. You can mo for most of the transactions will support BDC, sales order creation, purchase order data. But when you choose BDC or BAPI, if a BAPI, so first I'll let you know, BAPI function modules are provided by SAP as standard function modules. Okay, for most of the business process. For example, to create a sales order data, to change the sales order data, to display the sales order data, SAP has already provided BAPI function modules. Similarly, to create the purchase order data, to change the purchase order data, to display the purchase order data. Three transactions, right? Create, change, and display. For all these three functionalities, SAP is already provided BAPI function module. Similarly, for most of the business process, SAP already provided standard BAPI function modules to create, to change, or to just display, right? First, we need to find.
Yes, sir.
First, we need to find whether a BAPI is available or not for that specific business functionality. I'll show you how to find a BAPI. Okay. If BAPI is available, then we should choose only BAPI. If BAPI is not available, what is the alternative?
We go BDC.
Go for
BDC,
BDC.
sir.
Go for BDC programming. Okay. Clear, everyone? Whatever the
Yes, sir.
whatever the topics we discussed till now, you can expect at least two interview questions. Okay. Is everyone clear? Is everyone clear on data migration?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So usually it is very rare, okay, for the people who's having 3 or 4 years of experience going to involve in data migration, and that too you have to work on an implementation project. At that time only you will get a chance to work on data migration objects. Otherwise, if it is a support or enhancement project, usually you don't get this requirement. to migrate the non-SAP data to SAP data. If it is a new implementation project, then only you will get a chance to work on data migration programs. That's why whatever the topics you are learning in ABAP, you are not going to use every topic in your project. Depends on your project. You may get a requirement. In some projects, you need to work only on the report programs, right? Only on the ALV reports. In some projects, you need to work on combination of data dictionary objects and report programs. Depends on the requirement, okay? That's why you have to learn all the basic concepts, whatever required for the project. And when you got the project, then you have to learn in depth on that particular concept. Okay, clear?
Okay, sir.
It is
Yes, sir.
not
Yes, sir.
possible to learn everything in the training session. For example, if you are discussing about data migration, you cannot learn 100% about data migration in the training session, in any training session. Okay, what you need to know?
Okay, sir.
You need to know the basics,
Basic.
what is required. When you got the opportunity to work on it in your project, then you have to learn more on it, in depth on it. Okay, is everyone clear on that?
Okay, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Even even if I teach 1 month on the same concept data migration, there are still some pending topics available. Okay, so it is waste of your time. So you have to be very confident on the basics, how to create a basic program, and you need to apply that basic knowledge on your real-time project. Okay, because there you have time to work on the same object. Here we are learning multiple objects, right? Multiple concepts. Please remember that. Please work on basic concepts. You should be very clear and very confident on the basic concepts. Okay, is everyone clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So we are discussing about data migration, right? Are we going to do
Yes, sir.
anything new here? Are we going to write any new ABAP programming? Are we going to use any new syntaxes or any new programming model here? When I say about BDC programming or BAPI, nothing. Everything is same. You are going to for file upload, we need to use a function module. Don't you know how to call a function module?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
You know, right?
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
It is not new. File upload is not new. Nothing new. It's not a new concept. We just need to pass the importing parameter, different importing parameter, right? Here to upload the file, we need to provide the file path, where the file, in which folder the file is in, and what is the file name. And it will automatically upload file to a internal table, right? Validate the data. You know how to validate the data, right?
Yes, sir.
So the first type of validation is checking whether there is at least some value are there, right? That is first
Yes,
type
sir.
of validation. Checking, is there any value, at least some value are there available in that field or not. If the value is available, then we'll proceed further. What is the second type of validation?
The
Whether
value
the
is
value
is correct
value
or not? The value will be correct or not, sir? Proper or not?
Yeah, sorry. What is the second type of validation? Validating, let's say first validation
Whether
is
the
successful.
value is
For example, here we have field company code, right? Company code is there. What is the first type of validation? We need to check whether that company code field is having value or not. That is the first type of validation. Some
yes, sir.
value, any value, right? What is the
Yes,
second
sir.
what is the second type of validation?
Is
Let's say
correct or
there is some
not? The
value.
value is
Let's say there is some value, and we need to validate whether that is a valid value or not. So if you enter some random value, that's we should not accept it, right? Company code should be a valid value, right? That is the second type of
Yes,
validation.
sir.
How can you do the second type of validation? First type of validation is like that, like this. If occurs is
is initial
initial, then error message. Initial means empty.
message
It
and
is
if
empty. Else means not initial. Else means if it is not empty, then what we need to do? We need to validate that whether that is a valid value or not, right?
value
How
or
can you
not.
validate?
Yes, sir.
How can you validate the
Select
values?
statement.
Select statements on which table? On which table we have to write select statement to validate the values?
Check it.
Check table, sir. For a non-primary case.
We have to use a check table, right? For example, if it is a
Yes, sir.
material number, what is the check table?
Material number.
If it is a material number, what is the check table for material number?
Mara.
Mara is the check table. I don't know why you guys are still confusing. Mara is the material master table. Mara is the check table. So you have
Yes,
to
sir.
write select statement
No
on Mara
confusion,
table.
sir.
Where Matner equal to the material number which is passing through the file, which is available in the file, right? That is second type of validation. Validations are common, okay, in any program. Is everyone clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So any questions? As I told you, nothing new here. You need to call few function modules, and the rest of the statements are same: loop statement, select statements, etc. Okay, clear?
Yes, sir.
Nothing new here. Only thing is we need to use all these concepts in a order. First we need to upload the file, next we need to validate the data, and next we need to loop the internal table, and inside the loop we need to call BAPI function module or BDC logic. Clear? BDC's logic is very simple. You need to populate work area and internal table, just like field catalog. You know how to populate the field catalog, right?
Yes, sir.
So BDC logic is also very similar. You have to populate field catalog. Sorry, not field catalog, a work area structure and internal table. Okay, clear?
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
So it is very similar. You are not going to use any new concept here. All the concepts you already known. Okay.
In BAPI, we use field catalog, sir, because changes can be available in BAPI also.
No, don't mention about field catalog in function modules or any other concepts. We are going to use field catalog only in ALV output display. What is the
Okay, sir.
purpose of field catalog?
Collection of structures
What is the purpose of field
To
catalog?
customize the
to customize ALV reports,
To
sir.
customize ALV report output.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what are we doing here? Are we generating any ALV report here?
No, sir. I mean,
No, we are writing BDC programming. Okay. Why
yes,
I
sir.
mentioned about field catalog? Because populating work area and internal table is similar to the field catalog
Uh,
for BDC logic. That doesn't mean that we are going to use BDC field catalog here. I'm
okay, sir.
saying that here also we need to populate a work area and internal table for BDC programming. Okay,
Okay, sir.
clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, any questions?
No, sir, from my side.
Okay,
So whenever we open SC30, SC11, there are three display create change. These three are the standard fields of copy.
sorry, what is it?
Uh, whenever we open SC30, it's in a bottom with a create change display. And SC11 also create change display. These are the standard functions of that. And ఇందాక మీరు అలా చేసే కాపీ నుంచి మనకి ఇవి ఉన్నాయి స్టాండర్డ్
Your
SCP
voice
లో.
is not clear. I can't understand. I don't know, is it for me or is it for everyone?
Now is it okay, sir?
No, we also not clear.
Okay, okay, sir. No issue. You can continue.
So I think I heard about create change something. So we have BAPI function modules to create the transaction, to change the transaction, or just to display the transaction. Okay. For example, if you take VA01 is to create the sales order, right? We have a BAPI.
Yes,
We
sir.
have a BAPI to create the sales order, and we have a BAPI to change the sales order, and we have a BAPI to display the sales order. Similarly, we have different BAPIs available in SAP. Okay. So if BAPI is not available, we need to use BDC programming. Okay. So
Okay, sir.
when we are working on the system, you'll understand more on it. So for example, go to VA01. What is VA01 transaction code? This is to create the purchase order, right?
Sir, sales order అనుకుంటా కదా సార్.
I'm sorry. Yeah, sales order. So VA01 is to create the sales order. Here, this is the screen. Here we enter the data manually. Select the purchase order type, sales order type, and enter the data: sales organization, distribution channel, sales office, etc. And here we enter the details. Sold to party means, here see, whenever you are working on sales order details or SAP, right, you will hear more on sold to party and ship to party. Sold to party means the customer who is buying this material, right? Sold to party, ship to party is nothing but customer number only. Please don't confuse. Sold to party and ship to party is nothing but customers. Okay. For example, whenever many of you have heard that like any products in Amazon, right? There will be two types of address: delivery address and billing address. Billing address is different and delivery address is different, right?
Yes, sir.
Here also both are different. Sold to party means the customer who is buying this product. Ship to party means for the customer whose we are sending this delivery. For example, customer A buy this product and ask to deliver to the customer B, right? The delivery has to go to customer B. But who buy the product? Who is going to buy the product? Customer A.
Customer A.
The delivery details has provided the customer B. Okay, now ship to party is customer B and sold to party is customer A.
Customer A.
Whenever someone talk to you about sold to party and ship to party, what is the actual data? It is customer number. Okay, depends on the situation. The customer number will be different. Sometimes we call the customer as sold to party, and sometimes we call the customer as ship to party. Okay, clear?
Yes, sir.
What is the customer master table? What is the customer master table? We created multiple programs. KNA1 is the customer master
Player
table.
one, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Similarly, we have to enter all the mandatory details and click on save to create the sales order number in VA01, right? So this is the BDC programming process. Whatever we are doing manually here, BDC will also repeat the same process. Whatever the buttons we are clicking, whatever the options we are populating, BDC will also do the same thing. It will just repeat those steps. Clear? Is everyone clear?
Yes, sir.
But what is BAPI? We are saying BAPI is the alternative, right? Go to SC37. So every BAPI function module name starts with the BAPI underscore. That is the naming convention. Okay. For sales orders, we'll search like this: SO or SALES. Here you can see BAPI underscore sales order underscore change, right? This is to change the existing sales orders, this function module. What is the use of this function module? BAPI sales order change. This is for VA02. VA02 is to change the existing sales orders, right? So the
Yes, sir.
corresponding BAP is BAP underscore sales orders underscore change. If you want to change the existing sales orders, you can use this BAP function module. Sales order underscore create. We'll try create. This is for change. This is for create sales order. BAP underscore sales orders underscore create from DAT1. Get list. Get list is to display all the list of sales orders, just to display. Status. This BAP is to get the status of the sales order. Is it active or is it inactive? Like that. Okay. Clear? Similarly, for purchase orders also, there are, what is the purchase order transaction code? ME.
ME21 N.
Here BAP underscore PO underscore create or PO create one. This BAP is to create the purchase order data in SAP system, right? Similarly, we have BAP underscore PO underscore change and BAP underscore PO underscore display. Okay. So these are the importing parameters we have to pass. Okay. Right. Please
Yes, sir.
observe. BAP is doesn't contain any exceptions. BAP function modules doesn't contain any exceptions. It won't use exceptions to catch the errors. Okay. What is the use of exceptions? What is the use of function module
To,
exception?
to handle the
Right?
errors.
Please remember, BAP are not going to use exceptions to handle the errors. What the BAP is going to use? Return parameter. BAP is going to use return parameter to handle the errors. You can find somewhere here. This one. So BAP will use a return parameter to handle the errors. BAP cannot use exceptions because BAP function modules can be used in non-SAP systems also to access the SAP data. But non-SAP systems cannot understand the exceptions. How we are handling the exceptions in calling program using sub-RC value, right?
Yes, sir.
For example, if we are calling this BAP function module in non-SAP systems, they cannot understand the exception. What is exception? What is sub-RC value? For that reason, we are going to use one parameter, that is return parameter. Here we return the error messages if there is any error in the BAP. That is the main difference between normal function module and BAP function module. If you observe the attributes, what is the type of the function module? This is, what type of function module is this? BAP.
Remote
Correct. BAP is a
and
remote enabled function module. But the other difference is BAP cannot use exceptions. It uses return parameter. Okay. Is everyone clear?